Here I am, a guy traveling the world, training some of the smartest, brightest minds of people in corporate America and corporate Canada, and I never went to college university.
Yeah.
So talk about intimidating, right? I'm dealing with people that are from Harvard, Stanford, Yale University, Wharton School of Finance, very smart people, right? High performance people, best in class people, and I'm coming in with the least amount of experience, being paid the most in the day to come in and corporate train them. You know what I mean?
Welcome back to the movement. This man is very special. Sir Darren Lee Jacklin, right? Author of Until I Become. Recommend anybody to read it. I have to say, I really need to hear your story from in person. I read the story, but what really gave you away that was very different is the whole go-getter and go-giver part.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when I read that and I read your whole philosophy based on it, right? Because I know you were talking about Anthony Robbins, the foundation, and philanthropy and stuff like that. I have to meet this guy. Anyways, I'm like, I knew I was meeting you today, but I'm like, I love it, man, you know? Because I'm a very big guy on service. Your first chapter was service.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I want to hear your story, man. I would love to hear your story, man.
Yeah. Do you want to ask some questions? Do you want me to just kind of give you a high-level overview? Or what?
First of all, I want to start off with, when did you first realize that service was the big thing? I know you put it in the book, but I want to hear it directly from you.
Sure. I think I was a young kid, right? I had low self-confidence, very insecure. Didn't have any much direction. School was very challenging for me as a kid, as you read in the book, right?
Yeah, 100%.
From grade 1 to grade 12 in special education. So I realized that when I would go knock on doors and find a way to serve my community and solve problems for people in my neighborhood by doing odd jobs, I got this response back from people in my neighborhood. They're like, wow, this young boy's active. He's doing things. He's making a difference. And that was a big turning point for me. So I was a very young, probably 7, 8, 9 years of age.
The Rent-A-Kid business?
Yeah, Rent-A-Kid, yeah.
Where did you, I know you met Pat, I think it was Pat Smith.
Pat Smith, yeah. She was my neighbor, yeah.
So how did that really actually do the impacting for you for the tenacity part?
So she lived right across the street from me, and she became the deputy premier of Saskatchewan next to the premier, which was Grant Devine back then, who was in political power. And so she was a very well-known public figure in the province of Saskatchewan, Canada. And so, but I always knew her as Pat and Ed Smith, her and her husband. Her husband was in a wheelchair. He was involved in a work-related accident where he had lost the ability to walk. So I used to shovel all their snow, deliver the newspaper 6 days a week to their house. So I just knew her as someone I would go and deliver the newspaper 6 days a week to. Someone I'd go and collect money for.
Was that the penny saver to cut you off when you said delivering the newspaper? Was that the penny saver?
Yeah.
What a crazy world. I think everybody's done that. Yeah, they're a cup of water. It's okay, Sean. Boy. Give it to him. He's a legend anyways. So it was a penny saver. Mm-hmm. You never put what your parents did, by the way. No. So I didn't understand the backstory. Like, I was trying to get the full picture because I know your 21-year-old part and I know the Rent-A-Kid business. Yeah. But where was that whole... Did you grow up in Saskatchewan, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I grew up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. I was born in Saskatoon, grew up in Swift Current, Saskatchewan until I left high school. Yeah. And then went from there to the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia called Vernon, British Columbia, where I have a home there now as well, a second home. And and it was just... I left Swift Current, less than 20,000 people in population. I still maintain contact with the two kids, Ryan and Aaron, that were with me with the Rent-A-Kid business. We're still great friends 45 years later.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about Joe? What about Joe, the hotel owner guy?
Yeah, so I've actually reached out to him. In fact, he's on my list, actually. I was going to call him again next week. Yeah, because he had such a pivotal point in my life of what he did. In fact, I just started making a list the other day of the different teachers that are still alive that had some influence and impact in my life to see if I can somehow find a way to connect with them, to thank them.
You got a bucket list in here of people that you want to meet. Yes. Let's start it off with Sir Darren Jacklin, how you got the actual knighting story. I want to hear that one. You didn't put that in the book.
No, because the book came out just before I got knighted.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I need to hear the story, man.
Yeah, so I got, so I've had a chance over the years when I was doing corporate training, was traveling the world. I had a chance to meet a lot of different people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds all over the world. And I got nominated by 2 different people to the Royal Order there's 8 different categories. One is in global philanthropy, and the other one is global entrepreneurship. And, never assume you're not being observed, right? We're always being watched. We're always being observed.
Really?
And so what it was for me was I got nominated by these 2 people to be nominated by the Royal Order out of the country of Spain with the Royal Order of Cappadocia. And so when I first got contact. I'm thinking, wow, this is such a great honor. But at first I thought, well, maybe they want me to pay them some money and become like a title corporate sponsor. Because like I got approached like 10 years ago to meet Sir Richard Branson.
Okay.
And so it was like, hey, do you want to be on stage with Sir Richard Branson? Absolutely. I was traveling the world as a top corporate trainer.
For sure.
And they go, yeah, well, it's $100,000 to be a title sponsor, and you can sponsor this event. You can actually have a seat on the table on stage with Richard Branson as part of a panel.
For sure, they get you in your pockets.
Exactly. So when they first contacted me, I thought I got to become a title sponsor. And that's what it wasn't. But, it was a 6-month interview due diligence process. They did a deep dive on me, social media audit, Interpol check, police background checks, reference checks. They really check you out, which I'm grateful for. I have nothing to hide, no skeletons in the closet. And so this has happened all during COVID-19, during the lockdown here in Canada.
Jeez, this all happened then?
Yeah. And so... Wow. So I ended up flying into the United States, getting permission to go in the United States, and actually flew into Las Vegas, where I actually did the knighting official ceremony with the sword and all that stuff. I had the sword at home, and there was 24 of us chosen for the world.
Sorry to cut you off. Did you say you took the sword home?
So
how the hell did you transport that?
That's a good question. So I actually got the sword, but didn't actually get to leave with the sword. They had to ship it to me, which took about 2 months to actually get it.
That's crazy.
This is a weapon, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so it actually came in a gun case.
That's insane.
That was shipped to me, but special delivery.
You have to send us a picture of the actual item.
I will, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an engraved sword, the official sword from the royal family, and it's quite an honor. And so, people ask me all the time. They go, "What is being knighted as Sir Darren Jacklin?" Well, I was one of 2 Canadians that got knighted out of 40 million people, which is a huge honor, right? And it's one of these things that. I've never met anybody. I've been to NASDAQ 3 times. You probably read in the book. I've been to NASDAQ 3 times. Well, I didn't grow up in circles or families or environments where, somebody would go to NASDAQ, somebody would ring a bell, somebody would get knighted. I didn't grow up in circles like that. So I had no reference. So it was all brand new experiences for me.
How did you take that in terms of that kind of interaction?
I was scared
how did you
first.
feel?
I was scared. I was scared because I'm a humble person. Integrity is very important to me. I was raised with a lot of integrity. Always be your word. And I didn't want people to see me any differently. I didn't want people putting me on a pedestal and then putting themselves in the pit and then thinking I'm better than them. It's an equal playing field with myself and everybody else. So when I was going through the process of getting knighted, and then when it actually happened, the ceremony, I said to people, I'm not going to actually have it in front of my name, Sir Darren Jacklin. And feel like, well, there'd be a disservice to humanity if you didn't. It's an inspiration to so many people.
For sure.
Right? And then people get a chance to say, wow, they've met somebody who's a sir. Plus also, look at the inspiration you give to other people that have known you for so long, thinking, oh my gosh, if Darren Jacklin can do this, what the heck can I do in my life? Right? Because I was, in school, I was able most likely not to ever succeed. I was homeless on the streets, living on welfare. I had an R9 credit rating in my 30s. Yeah. R9 credit rating is the worst possible credit score you can get.
You had it in your 30s.
Yeah. I was an R9 credit rating. So people who understand Equifax or TransUnion Credit, who understand the metric system with how the numbers work with credit scores, I was an R9.
You're the worst. That's right before bankruptcy.
Yeah, and I turned that right around to becoming a multimillionaire. You know what I mean? So it's fascinating how, when I say to people, people say to me, oh, I'm having financial challenges. No, listen, we don't have money problems in life. We only have thinking problems in life. There's no lack of financial money in the world. There's an abundance of money. It's you just got to serve people and solve a problem. That's all you got to do is find a way to solve problems and serve people, and money will show up.
That's one of your VIPs, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very motivating, I have to say, because I know, what, like I said, I went through the whole book, loved it. Okay. And I know I was just saying about the Goal Giver, but one of the biggest things for me is the fact that you did live in your car.
Yes.
And you were selling watermelon.
Yes.
Where the hell did you come up with selling watermelons from?
So I had met a gentleman. It was in the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, the Burkholz family. Still in contact with him to this day. Just saw him a few months ago. And they offered me a job for cash picking watermelon and cantaloupe.
Is that what it was?
On the farm. And then we'd go to the farmers markets on the Thursdays or Fridays or Saturdays in the town.
That's crazy.
And I would sell watermelon on the side of the road. And I met a guy named Harry who was a guy pulled up one time in a Lincoln Town car. And first time I ever saw a $1,000 Canadian dollar bill, he had 5 of them, crisp $1,000 bills. I thought, wow, is that real? Like, I've only ever seen that on television. I'd never seen a $1,000 bill before.
And those are the red ones, right?
Yeah. They don't make them anymore. No. And it just blew my mind. I thought, wow, that's fascinating. So I was curious by this guy. So then the guy came the next day to buy more watermelon. And he showed up like for 4 or 5 days straight buying watermelon from me. I thought, man, nobody comes by the watermelon stand on the side of the highway and buys this much watermelon unless they're reselling it down the road somewhere. Right. So I wanted to get to know the guy. So I asked the guy, I said, hey, would it be possible I get together with you? Now, I didn't have a vehicle, right? I had to borrow a friend's vehicle and borrow money for gas to actually go meet with this guy.
Was that what it was?
Yeah. Was that?
Oh, was that? I thought you still had the car in the story at that time.
Yeah. So I didn't. And the car got repossessed. Yeah, I got my car.
Oh, so you had a car. It got repossessed.
Got repossessed, yeah. Got repossessed. I co-signed 2 loans to 2 guys for a business, and I collateralized the loan with my car. Jeez. And it was a startup company, and these guys, it didn't work out. The startup company went bust. And so as collateral, they had to take my car and sell it at the auction to pay off the debts. Yeah. So that was a learning experience. You know what I mean? Here I am. At the time, I had really good credit. I thought, wow, what a great way to earn passive income. I can be the investor. I've got, all this stuff. But I didn't know what due diligence was. I had no idea what due diligence was. Now I know from paying a lot of money over the years.
Of course.
And what some of my success today has actually come from having a team of women. You look at my inner circle. I have a team of women that run the day-to-day operations, everything we do within the Darren Jacklin group of companies, because women have intuition. And I've learned by making a lot of mistakes over the years in my younger days by not trusting women's intuition. So now what I do is I play a 3-step process. Is your intuition calm? Step number 1, calm.
Yeah.
Step number 2, is it cautious? Or step number 3, is it nervous? So calm, cautious, or nervous. So if I'm on a Zoom video call, we're doing a discovery call or due diligence call, I will text message or WhatsApp my team and ask them, are you 1, 2, or 3? Calm, cautious, or nervous? And the women will come back to me and they'll go, I'm calm, green light, cautious, yellow light, red, nervous.
That's incredible.
And I tell you, it's amazing what it does.
And it's really worked.
It works incredibly well.
That's crazy.
They are incredible at running day-to-day operations.
Man, this is the first time I've ever heard anybody use this analogy and say that this is actually what's helping them pull through. It's the woman.
Even the book, Until I Become, wouldn't be a success story today if it wasn't for Tatiana and the team.
For sure.
The team of women that helped me with the book. They got everything out of my head. Spent 10 months going through a deep dive of asking me a lot of questions and going back and forth with me to make sure everything was accurate and true and verifiable and stuff like that with everything that we did. And because I had no interest. Years ago, I traveled with Mark Victor Hansen, who co-authored Chicken Soup for the Soul. Him and I traveled across Canada years ago on a speaking tour. Yeah. And Mark was bugging me at lunches and dinners saying, hey, you know what? You got to write a book. You got to write a book. I'm a best-selling author. I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records, Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
I said, Mark, I appreciate it, but man, I just have no interest in writing a book. And then what happened was during COVID-19, we're in lockdown. And for the last 30 plus years, I've journaled every day of my life as a daily non-negotiable habit. And so I have a rule with Tatiana that she never reads my journals until upon my death, because I have private conversations in my journal. And I went into my storage locker and opened up all these boxes of journals. And I thought I'd go through my journals during lockdown with COVID. And Tatiana has a master's degree in curriculum education. She's got 3 academic degrees.
That's right.
And Tatiana says to me, she looks at me, she goes, it would be a disservice to humanity if you did not take some information that was in these private journals and write a book, and I'll help you do it. And I said, Tatiana, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And she goes, no, you need to get out of the way and let this information serve humanity and create a ripple of impact. This stuff it could really serve people. It's practical, it's valuable, and it can make a huge difference in the world.
I love it.
And so that scared me, but also excited me as well. And so I was scared because, that mind chatter of not being good enough, not smart enough, who am I? That little boy, that little 7-year-old boy saying you're never going to amount to much as a little kid, right? Always being told, no, it's never going to work. It's never going to happen. And so that showed up as the negative self-talk in my mind saying, who are you? Who are you to write a book that's going to become global? And now this book is used all over the world. It's gone global. Right? And people like it because of the authenticity, the vulnerability, and the transparency.
That's chapter 6.
Yeah.
You know what? It's incredible that you said that, because I was even thinking about it in a transparent sense. And you're talking about how, a lot of people do the fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. But when you sit in front of a guy like yourself and you're saying when you're getting to the high value,
absolutely,
they'll really cut through the bullshit fast.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't understand that.
Well, it's interesting in the beginning where I write the letter to my younger self, I get emotional because I've had so many people have reached out to me who have been contemplating suicide, ending their life, all kinds of stuff. And they read that chapter of the book or in the beginning of the book, and that was a turning point for them to stop doing that. Like, people could relate to the book of not being good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. Oh my gosh, and many people in business, like during COVID, some people were on the verge of losing everything in their lives and their businesses. And somehow they got a book. I'll give you a funny story. I had a gentleman in California who got his car broken into here last year, and they stole a backpack at the beach. He's at the beach for the day, and they broke into his car and they stole his backpack. Anyways, what happened was this guy had broken into multiple vehicles and they ended up catching him. So they arrested him. The police arrested him, took him down to the police station. Anyways, the guy went down to the police station to recover his items of his backpack. And the only thing that was not returned was my book. And when the police interviewed the guy says, "Listen, can I just keep the book? I don't want anything else. I just want to keep the book." This is a criminal, right?
That's crazy.
For some reason, the book resonated with this criminal guy who was breaking into vehicles, and he stole the backpack and he got the book out of the backpack, right? Because he's trying to hawk it for money, right? Probably for drugs or whatever he's going to do with it, right? But he wanted to keep the book out of everything. He returned everything else back but the book.
That's amazing. I can, you know what, as a testament, I can say I understand why, because even transparency, I was even thinking to myself, like, it's amazing how, you know, meeting you is different, man. But when even I was looking at it, let's be very honest, a lot of us don't even know what to do. A lot of us fake it till we make it.
Sure.
Right. And then the whole transparency part is extremely terrifying.
Absolutely.
It really is.
It is, yeah.
To be able to just go there and be like, I don't know, and I can't achieve, and I don't have, and how are they going to look at me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then your whole thing was starting off with, because you had your core tenets and integrity was one of them.
Yes.
How you turned down a deal.
Yeah.
Right. And it could have made you tons of money.
Yeah.
Right. For BMW, right?
Absolutely. For BMW, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, the thing is that when people look at it, see, the thing is that we look at in the business world today, talk is cheap. I think most people cheapen their talk because their words have no power. And that was a big turning point for my younger life, is when I realized that I would say things, but I would embellish things, I would exaggerate things. And then I realized later on that, you know, in life, time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time whether you get promoted or you get exposed.
I love that line. I don't know what to tell you. I love that line.
And it's true.
I've read it over and over again. I'm like, this guy's incredible, man.
Yeah. You know, it's true from practical experience, right? From living it and just realizing that in life, like I look at my life now and I'm so blessed with my life and so much abundance and prosperity. I think, what is it? And I look at my life now of all the relationships I have that are long-term relationships. They're not transactional, they're relational. And I look at all the opportunities I'm blessed to be a part of. And I think to myself, well, how is that? Because of keeping my word. Right, keep my word, that my word is my bond. My word is everything.
Yeah.
And the thing is, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's tough, you still keep your word. And if something happens, you make. Hey, listen, I said I was going to be here at this date, this time. It didn't work, but I need to recommit. And that's so important to do that. And people, because you know, I can meet up 20 times, and one time I'm late, I'm forgiven because I have a consistent track record of always being early and always being on time. And so people just really took on just being the power of their word. It's so important how much their life would change.
I hope you know you're not doing your 80-20 rule here. This is your show today, bro.
Okay.
So you're doing 80% of the talk, and I'm only going to be doing 20%. It's crazy. Even when you said that portion,
yeah.
I'm going to try to shut my mouth a little bit so we can give you the
yeah.
limelight. But even when you said that, I'm very similar to you. Mm-hmm. I have to tell myself, shut up. Stop. I don't know if it's ADHD. I don't even know if I have that.
Attention developed to a higher dimension.
There you go. So I'm telling myself, listen, you know what? Get the other person talking.
Yeah.
Right. So when it's incredible how relatable the book is.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to talk about the service part. I feel like a lot of people, because you have a whole thing about, you know, the heart on the sleeve portion. And it's crazy because I was saying this before, that we need more of this in the world. There's no empathy anymore.
No.
Everybody comes down to a number. It's cookie cutter. You're only as good as you were yesterday.
Sure.
But the whole can you explain in your words now between the relationship equity and the transactional relationships?
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand what these are to push it towards the goal giver part.
Yeah. So in social media today, we look at social media on the internet, right? So if we look at human beings, if we're up in the International Space Station looking down on planet Earth, what we're going to see is all these human beings on the planet. And what we are is a network of conversations. Right? We're a network of conversations. I talk about this in the book. All we are is a network of conversations. And so the thing is that most people, when they friend request you through a social media platform, it's transactional. They'll friend request you and they pitch you for some opportunity. And it's transactional. It's not relational.
That's true.
So the key thing is you want to get a way to get people to know you, like you, and trust you. So one of the things that I do a lot of times is I bring people hiking. Because when you take somebody hiking, you can go play pickleball or tennis or you can go play golf. But people, you don't get to really know somebody at a deep level. When I take you hiking and you have to struggle for a bit, you have to sweat, you have to, because the first thing is if I take you out in the wilderness, the first thing in your mind is, oh my gosh, are we going to encounter a wild animal?
Survival.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? That's the mind chatter, right?
True.
Protection and survival. So automatically, if I take you out hiking, you have to trust me.
That's
right?
A damn good
so we develop a strong relationship, or rapport. So I've taken people out that are working on multi-million-dollar deals. They get multi-million-dollar deals done on a hiking trail. that wouldn't get done in a boardroom.
So you switched from golf to hiking.
And then also the benefits of what it does for you with hiking. Now we own hikingfundraiser.com, where we actually we get people to take a hike and build a school. So people come out and they go hike with us, and then we take the money from the hiking registrations and we build schools with them. We've committed to building 100 schools around the world. So the thing is, it's all about relationships. So relationship equity. So people get to know you and like you and trust you. And so when they spend time with you, they get a chance to build what we call relationship equity. So you're building a bank account of relationship equity that you're building on that. Most people, when they meet somebody, it's like if you and I go to a bank and we open a bank account, first thing is we fill out the paperwork, and then first thing they'll ask us is, hey, do you want to make a financial deposit into the account?
That's right.
Right? And you're just like, well, wait a second, I'll put in $50, but hey, could I take out a loan for $5,000? They're like, well, no, you don't have a history and experience here. You don't have a credit rating with us of being here for a period of time. That's what most people do in relationships. They meet somebody, they try to, what's in it for me? What can I get versus how can I give? And that's where about being a go-giver versus a go-getter is that you want to. And Bob Berg is a gentleman I met many years ago. I was on a TV network show with him years ago, and he was the guy who created a famous book called The Go-Giver, which is a phenomenal book. But the key thing is you've got to look at it is that we are in the relationship building business with people today.
That's right.
And the thing is that so many people are transactional. So if you just go the extra step of being relational, so get people to know you, like you, and trust you, and build that relationship equity with people, and always be early, always be on time, always keep your word, you'd be amazed at what will happen. And find a way to solve a problem, be of service, be of contribution, be of love and generosity to them. It's amazing what you can do. But always find a way to be of service to people.
It's because it correlates with when you said to when you were saying it's not about how much you know, it's about how much they know you care.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
Plays a big role into it.
It does, yeah. Because the key thing is that people want to know that you care about them and you've got their back, right? And you're there for them no matter what.
I agree.
And I send text messages, I phone call, I email. Everybody's different purposes how they want to communicate these days. But I'm always checking in on people, seeing if there's a way to provide value, provide service. And I do it in a fun, competitive way about being a go-giver. So I will sometimes go into a room where there's a bunch of people, and it could be a workshop or a seminar.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, how can I competitively outgive everybody in this group?
So how do you do that?
So I find ways to, I'll get people glasses of water. I'll say, hey guys, listen, I've got some reservations for a restaurant. You want to come here? So I'm finding ways, how can I create the Ritz-Carlton experience for people? How can I always create that wow, which is without words, the factor. So I'm always finding ways that I can save people time, having people not to think as much. So well, some things what I do is hey, can I get you a glass of water? Would you like me to make the reservation for you?
Yeah.
Is there anything you need right now? What's your biggest challenge or problem that you're dealing with right now in your life? How can I help you solve it? Is there anything you need right now? Can I introduce you to somebody to help make a difference in your life? So, your kids right now, is there anything your kids need right now? Anything your wife, your spouse, or partner needs right now?
Geez, you go all the way to that extent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're amazing.
Oh, yeah. Always finding out things, find out what people value most in life, what's most important to them, and then find a way to be of service and contribution to help them.
If you thought it was your journal you were worried about, I would be worried about your notes. Those contact cards you're talking about?
I have notes on every time I meet a profile. For example, when you and I just met, I have a profile I build on everybody's thing. I have birth dates, what anniversaries, what their spouse, partner's name is, if they have a dog or a cat, what their dog, cat name is, their 5 love languages, what's their 5 love languages, what do they value most, what's most important in their lives, what's their favorite restaurants, what kind of things they like movies, they like shows, like sporting events.
Wow.
I build a whole profile on every person on my phone.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, when I was literally going to ask you these questions because I'm like, I've heard of, in the world of sales, you go and these are things that you fish for. I never even went to the extent where you're finding out love languages. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was a book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, came out a number of years ago. So my number 1 love language is acts of service. Number 2 for me would be words of affirmation. 3 would be quality time. 4 would be gifts, and 5 would be physical touch. And it's interesting because in my life, Tatiana, my partner, her number 1 is physical touch, and it's my number 5. Her number 5 is acts of service, and it's my number 1. That's incredible. So we're completely the opposite, but we're very complementary. That's why we're a power couple. You guys literally did that whole that workshop thing for that too? Because I know in the book it tells you to do that with your partner. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. How effective was it? Very effective because we get a chance to really understand each other. Because Tatiana came from the academic world, right? 3 academic degrees. I barely passed public high school. So we actually met in a training development course 8 years ago. We met in a course. I had no interest in being in a relationship or dating. I was there to take a leadership course for 7.5 months. And in the participants that were in the program figured that we'd be a great
couple to get together.
Yeah.
And I was very resistant to it because I figured it was a shiny object and it's a waste of my time. I'm not here for that. And it was a blind spot for me.
If she heard that shiny object line right now, she wouldn't be mad about that.
No, because she understands that she wasn't looking for a relationship either at the time.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then when she met me, we were completely the opposite. Here I was a guy that, barely passed public high school, very entrepreneurial, very visionary. Her very, academic, play it safe, job security. She was a high school teacher for 35 years. Here I'm a calculated risk taker and done well in my life over the years. And so we're very different, but very complementary, but incredible together as a power couple. Incredibly powerful, what we've done, what we've built over the last 8 years.
What would you say was your biggest turning points in something where you've actually developed exponentially? What was this? Because I know you had the Uganda story.
Yeah.
But give me like an example. If that's what it is, if it is what it is.
So the biggest thing for me was myself personally and also advising other people was when Tatiana and I got together, I thought I need to get a business coach, hire a business coach. And Tatiana says to me, she says, you need to hire a business coach. You need to listen to me. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I know all your strengths. I know all your weaknesses. I know your fears, your doubts, your worries, your insecurities. I also know your blind spots. No coach will know that because they don't live with you.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. And that's been probably the biggest breakthrough in my life was realizing that when she's with me, she sees everything, strengths, weaknesses, insecurities, doubts, worries, and blind spots. And so I just now listen to her, and it's amazing what's happened in my life. Huge results and turning point.
Did you have any resistance when she said that?
At first
I
did. At first. Ego.
Yeah, I was going to say. Your wife
ego.
coming up to you being like, listen, I'll tell you what to do.
Well, and also too, because, she was a high school teacher for 35 years, academic. And she'd never been an entrepreneur. She never knocked on doors when she was a kid. She never missed a meal. She never had an R9 credit rating. She never got a car repossessed. She never went on welfare. She never ate her next meal with garbage. She had a very comfortable life.
I don't think much people had your life, to be very honest. If we're going to be extremely fair.
Yeah. So when she first started advising me, I thought, well, what qualifies her to advise me? She's got no practical experience. She's got textbook experience.
Yeah.
She can read knowledgeable books, but she's never been in the trenches like me and had the scars in the back. And so at first I was not coachable with her, but now I'm very coachable. I see things and I listen to her and I see things now and we communicate all the time in business and she'll say like, hey, this is what you're doing here. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I trust her intuition. I trust the process. And it's amazing what happens.
So when did you cut the ego then?
So probably the first 2 years in the relationship, I was resistant. And then after about 2.5 years in the relationship, then I started becoming open and coachable.
Was it because you started to see results? Is that what it was?
I started to see things when I was resistant to her, that things wouldn't work out. And then she's like, I told you so.
Oh my God. Here comes the line. I told you so.
And that was the turning point for me. It's like, if you would listen to me, you wouldn't be in this situation. And then I started to collect evidence, realizing, okay, yeah, this has happened a few times now. Okay, maybe I should just trust the process and listen to her.
And what did you feel like? Because, you said your first love language, the first one was acts of service. The reason why I'm saying this is because when I was reading the book, I felt like I was reading, it's like you were putting words into my life that made sense because I'm like, this is what I'm all about.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when did you start realizing that even with the coachability, you're like, you know what, this is actually who I am? Because you talk about embracing that.
For sure. Yeah.
So how did that work out in terms of your first tenet, which was the service one?
I think throughout my life, I've realized the impact of being of service to people, that the secret to living is giving, right? The secret to living is giving. And my success is someone else's miracle.
Yes,
I learned that many years ago.
That's right.
My success is someone else's miracle. So the more successful I become, the more I'm able to bless and be of service to other people. So I figured that if I become more prosperous, more abundant, more loving, more caring, then I can enrich more people's lives. So throughout my life growing up, I've realized that how much of a difference it can make in people's lives.
When do you draw the line, though?
It's a good question. So I'm an overgiver.
Me too. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So Tatiana sometimes she'll say, look, you know what, you're going a little too far with this of overgiving. And especially when people are in a crisis like I used to live panic to panic. So people say, paycheck to paycheck, which is 78% of the North American population. I said, I never lived paycheck to paycheck. I lived panic to panic.
Yeah.
I'd solve a panic and be in another panic. So I was always panic to panic, never paycheck to paycheck. And so when I meet other people who are in panic to panic, I want to help them.
Yes.
I want to sometimes rescue them.
Yes.
Right? Because I know what they're going through because I was there. Right? Whether it's especially financial sometimes. Like I see people, oh my gosh, they're going through financial stuff. And I'm like, man, I was there. And I could just help them and solve it. But I don't help them. if I just solve it for them. And so sometimes technicians says, let them go through their own turmoil, let them go through their own thing. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to see it. Even family members, immediate family members, because then you start giving handouts to people and then they expect it, right? It's not a fair means of exchange.
It's tough because I'm telling you, when I was reading the book, I just started envisioning all that. And I'm like, where do you really draw the line? Because let's be honest, it hurts a lot of them.
It does, yeah.
They drag you right down because you're talking about preserving your energy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's why I had to ask is when do you draw the line? Because you had the story about the homeless man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that the correlation you're making that, you know what, instead of giving it to them, give them the tool?
Give them the tool, yeah. Well, for example, like in the book, I talk about how the guy was at the Vancouver Convention Center. I was going to the Cactus Club right by the Vancouver Convention Center, walked by, and here's a guy who's homeless looking for spare change to get to the hostel that night.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
And I said, you know, if you change your ask, you change your results. Right? You ask for 25 cents, you're gonna, you know, you're still getting rejected 25 cents. Start asking for $100, $50, you're gonna, you know, you're still gonna get rejected, but people are gonna be blown away. And then, you know, an hour and a half later, combined, the guy had a whole different result of how much money he collected, right, compared to what he was really getting. And you just change your ask, change your result. I've seen this with many people over the years with asking for a raise. Or negotiating commissions on something. If they just ask a different rate of what they feel that they're worth, things can change for them in their lives. And I remember growing up in my life, I was like, oh, I don't want to ask that. What if they reject me? And then you start asking for it, and it's like, oh my gosh, people like, I remember one time years ago where I was speaking at this big conference here in North America as a corporate trainer, and this guy reached out to me afterwards. He's like, hey, I want you to come and train, do a quarterly offsite in the Canadian Rockies for our team of 12 executives.
Yeah.
And so a couple of days earlier, I was in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada, and I was at this mastermind group as a guest. A buddy of mine was a member, and I was being paid $250 a day as a corporate trainer, plus my travel expenses.
Yeah.
And so what happened was I'm there, and they at the end of this mastermind, they do a thing called the hot seat. And they want one of the members to sit in the hot seat, and they drill you on a whole bunch of things. They just drill deep, and they get to the root of what's going on in your professional life. So one of the guys, he goes, Darren, I want you to go sit in the hot seat. I said, no, I'm just a guest. Listen, there's much more people in this room, much more qualified, much more experienced, much more doing better off in life than I am. And he goes, no, you go sit in the hot seat. So I get arguing with this guy, and the guy goes, listen, are you going to stop arguing for your limitations and go sit in the hot seat? I said, no. He goes, no, you need to go. So then they voted, and they voted me into the hot seat. Well, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
So I sit in the hot seat, and the guy goes, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a corporate trainer. How much do you make a day? I said, $250. He goes, so let me ask you a question. Would you fly from Kelowna, British Columbia to New York City to do a corporate training seminar for $250? I said, yeah. He goes, you can make more money working at Walmart as a greeter. I'm like, yeah. He goes, why would you do that? I said, because I love what I do. And he goes, yeah, but you have all the preparation time behind the scenes because you're not even making minimum wage dollars. I said, yeah. I said, my goal is to get to $500 a day. And so they start drilling all these questions, and he goes, listen, are you open to some feedback? He goes, how many phone calls do you make? I said, well, I was making 400 cold calls a day, 2,000 cold calls a week. And I said, over a 5-year period, I made over 100,000 cold calls.
That's right.
To build my corporate training business. He goes, I want you to start asking for $10,000 a day plus your travel expenses. I said, no, absolutely not. And he goes, why? I said, because I'm getting rejected at $250 a day. They're going to reject me at $10,000 a day. I'm going to get a lot more rejection.
Yeah.
And he goes, are you being coachable right now? I said, no, I'm not. Listen, you don't understand the industry that I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm dialing for dollars. I'm cold calling all these people on the phone books right now. And I'm asking for $250 for a day of corporate training. And some people aren't biting at $250 a day. So anyways, I finally agreed to him that I'd be coachable, and I'd start asking for $10,000 a day. And he said to me, he said, listen, if you're uncomfortable asking for $10,000 a day, I want you to reach down and grab your balls.
Jeez.
And start squeezing your balls, pain or pleasure, whenever somebody asks you how much is a day for corporate training. So I thought this is ridiculous, right? 2 days later, I get a phone call from this big company here in North America. They said, we're doing this quarterly offsite in the Canadian Rockies. Would you be willing to come in and do some corporate training? I said, yeah. How much for a day of corporate training? And my mind goes, oh, okay, I got it.
Squeeze your balls.
These guys are setting me up. This is a setup, right? These guys have contacted this company to call me to see if I'm going to ask for $10,000 for a day of corporate training plus travel expenses.
Yeah.
So I'm terrified. So I said, it's $10,000. And I'm scared. I'm grabbing my balls. I'm terrified. And he goes, okay, done. My assistant will call you back within 90 minutes with a FedEx tracking number. We'll pay you 50% up front, and then we'll pay you 50% the day of the corporate training. So
jeez.
I'm thinking, wow. So 90 minutes later, they call me up. The assistant calls me up. She says, we're going to send you a FedEx tracking number. Now, here's the thing. I'm financially broke. I owe money. I owe money to friends and family and people. So I'm thinking, man, that $5,000 is already spent because I got to pay bills.
That's right.
And I'll delay the taxes. I'll talk to my bookkeeper accountant because I owe him money as well. I'll get that sorted out. So I call these people up and said, listen, I got some money coming in. I want to play catch up with you. I'm going to drive around and meet with you tomorrow and get you caught up. So next day the FedEx arrives, got the check for $5,000. I run off to the bank. I go into the bank. The bank has never seen a check for me for $5,000. I've never cashed a check for $5,000 before.
Yeah. So
I go to the bank. The lady deposits it into the bank account. She goes, is there anything else I can do for you? I said, yeah, I'd like to withdraw the $5,000 in cash, please. She goes, oh, Mr. Jacklin, she says, I'm sorry, we can't withdraw the $5,000 for you. There's a 5-day business hold on the check. I said, what do you mean? It's my money.
Yeah.
She goes, Mr. Jacklin, sorry, we have to put a 5-day business hold on a check. You've never deposited a check like that before, and we recognize the company, but we just want to make sure that it's legit. And I said, well, I need to speak to the branch manager. She says, okay. Branch manager comes over, Mr. Jacklin, I'm sorry, you have to wait 5 business days to withdraw the checks. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm completely out of integrity. I called these people up and said I was going to play catch up with them because I owe them money. So I had to then call these people up.
That's the worst.
Oh, it was embarrassing.
Man.
And I've not followed through a few other times with these people before. So, I'm lying to them. They don't believe me. I'm exaggerating. I'm embellishing things. Yeah, Darren, you said this to me before. So anyways, the 5 days goes by. I call them, I get the money, I play catch up with them. 4 months later, I go to the Canadian Rockies and I go do this corporate training seminar. And I do a phenomenal day. It was like a gold medal day for me. At the end, the head guy, he said to me, he says, you know, I need to go for a walk down the river. And he's smoking this guy smokes like a pack of cigarettes a day. And
Yeah.
so we're going down the riverbank and the participants are going whitewater rafting near Golden, British Columbia. So he's got a pack of cigarettes and he's got my check for $5,000 behind there. And we're walking down the riverbank and he says to me, he says, I got a question to ask you. He goes, 4 months ago when I called you up and I asked you how much for a day of corporate training, why'd you tell me $10,000? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you'd be kidding me. This guy thinks I ripped him off, took advantage of him.
Jeez.
Like he's going to want a refund now. This money's already spent. I owe money. I'm in debt. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking scared, right? I'm like a duck on top of the water, nice and proper underneath. My feet are paddling really fast. You can't see the feet, right? So I go ahead and I said to myself, you know what? I think I delivered a phenomenal day of corporate training today. The 12 people really liked it. Your executives, the evaluations came in as very strong, and he goes, well, are you open to some feedback? And I said, sure. He goes, you know what? When I asked you how much for a day of corporate training, you said $10,000. You should have asked me how much was I willing to pay for the day. And I said, okay. He goes, Darren, I see more potential in you than you see in yourself. Do you know I was willing to pay you $25,000 for the day plus your travel expenses and you only asked for $10,000? And in fact, if you would have asked for less than $10,000, I would have hung up the phone and you would never heard from me again.
No way.
And you know what? 2 days earlier, I was at a mastermind program where I was telling him $250 a day. And I would have told the guy $250 if I would have went to that mastermind program.
So he would have told you to kick rocks too?
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences.
No. So people see more in us than we see in ourselves in terms of belief. And so sometimes when we're in business or in sales, people are like, oh my gosh, what am I going to ask for me? I'm a consultant, I'm a business coach, I'm a life coach, I'm a personal fitness trainer. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to train you. I'm a Pilates teacher or yoga instructor. How much are you going to charge for this session? And then people realize, oh my gosh, you don't realize that when you raise your fee, your rates of what you feel your deserve level is, how much it changes your life.
What a kick in the ass though.
Yeah, it's huge.
That guy telling you, I was valuating at $25,000. Look at you.
Yeah, and just a few months earlier, I was valuing myself at $250 a day.
And what do you think the reason is?
It was belief in myself, confidence, self-confidence was a big thing. Self-confidence and self-doubt of not thinking, not being good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. And that came from growing up childhood trauma.
So what did your parents do, by the way? Sorry, you never. I asked you this question. The book doesn't say anything. And out of nowhere, you're 21 years old, chucked to the wolves in the back of your car. Yeah,
so my mom worked as a nurse in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. My mom was a nurse for many, many years, worked in palliative care as a palliative care nurse and a life care nurse. And my dad was an engineer, power engineer, did that for a number of years. Power engineer. And my brother was a police officer, RCMP officer, just retired last year after 30 plus years of service in a major crime. And my sister runs a business where she cleans houses, is a housekeeping business. So never grew up, so my parents are there. But
it's very structured.
Yeah, my mom grew up in a town of less than 30 people in Saskatchewan. And my dad grew up in a small town in Saskatchewan of less than 300 people in population.
Wow.
So we learn at a very young age that your last name, your name is so important because it's reputational risk, right? Is that if you do things unethical or unintegral, that everybody in the village knows now you're the village idiot.
That's true, yeah.
Right? So I learned at a very young age, you be honest, you be integral with things. If not, you're going to get found out.
So is that where that stemmed from when you turned on that BMW deal?
Absolutely, yeah.
Still stuck on the fact that the guy told you I was evaluating at $25.
Exactly, yeah.
Isn't it crazy? It's when I read the abundance part, you had the abundance mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's very true.
So true, yeah.
Because the whole money doesn't grow on trees part that you said.
Yeah. Well,
everybody's heard that line, by the way.
Because most people come from lack and scarcity versus abundance and prosperity. And how you know if you're coming from lack and scarcity, when you go into a restaurant, do you read the menu from right to left? Because people look at the prices first, and then decide what they're going to eat.
That's right.
When you go to the gas station, do you look at the gas prices, and then you decide how much money you're going to put in the gas tank, right? So it was train our mindset. See, we don't have money problems in life. We don't have thinking problems in life. And the key thing is if you want to earn more money, find a way to serve more people and solve people's problems. Right? Money, there's never a shortage of money in the world. There's people who don't have enough money. There's people who make a lot of money who don't know where to put the money, to allocate the money. And, the average millionaire in North America has 7 revenue streams, right? Now, Robert Kiyosaki came out with a book many years ago called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which changed my life in many ways. But that book talked about how we looked at the 4 quadrants, the employee, the self-employed business owner, and investor, which I talk about in the book, those 4 quadrants. Right? Because when we realize that most times we're trained to trade time for money, whereas you can also when I was a kid, right? I would plan out my route for Halloween a couple weeks beforehand, and I would go and I would have a hockey bag and I'd change costumes. So I'd put all these costumes in a hockey bag and hide it in the bush, and I would go knock on all these doors and get all the Halloween candy, come back, change my costume, and go back and hit the doors all over again. And I'd just get stocked up with all this Halloween candy. Then I'd go sell the Halloween candy for the next couple of days at my school, get all the money, and then I'd go buy Mary Kay Cosmetics, and I'd get a 5 to 7x return on my money in a couple of weeks.
Wow, you're a hustler that early on. Yeah. Wow.
At a very young age. Yeah.
Jeez.
I saw opportunity zones everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. Like if I'm at an airport, I'm traveling around, everywhere I go, I'm looking for opportunity zones all the time.
And that was another thing you said. You talking about you put yourself in opportunity zones.
Yeah, opportunity zones. Yeah, and the key thing is the key thing is when you're around really successful people, what it does for you is, number one, there's a knowledge transfer of information, and number two is there's an exchange of energy. So the key thing is that you don't have to go out and make a lot of money. You just have to be around people who already made a lot of money and find a way to solve a problem and serve people. Because everybody is solving a problem for something. Everybody is solving for something. Everybody is. Okay? So the key thing is just get around successful people who've got your money and find a way to serve people. Like I always say to people, if you drop me off in a country, it could be India, Pakistan, Africa, wherever it is, you drop me off in some country where I don't speak the language, the first thing I'm going to do in the first 24 hours, I'm going to go to an international hotel where there's international business people. Because chances are they probably speak the English language. And when I'm going to go there, I'm going to find these international people. I'm going to see, hey, do they need me to shine their shoes? Do they need me to travel them around? Do they need me to iron their clothes? Whatever it is, I'm going to find some way, even if I don't want to do it, even if it's uncomfortable, find a way to make some money. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out, okay, how much does it cost to live for the next 3 days? Then the next 7 days, the next 2 weeks, the next 30 days. So I get my necessities and my expenses covered, so I can get that taken care of, and then I don't have to think about money for the next month. Now my mind's clear to think and to create. And it's find ways to solve and serve people. Innovation. Yeah, innovation. Because a lot of times we live paycheck to paycheck or panic to panic, where people are always in this vicious cycle, which I used to live for a number of years of my life. That I got to break out of this, where I'm not living panic to panic or paycheck to paycheck, but how can I create multiple revenue streams of active and passive income streams? Yeah. And then from there, now I'm free to not have to think about money during the waking hours of my day.
So then if someone comes up to you right now and says, Darren, how should I approach people then? Because I know you said you had the coin thing, but obviously you're talking about going out and mingling with people that can serve their ultimate goal, really. So what would your...
All we are is a network of conversations, and opportunities live inside of conversations. So what I do is good morning, good afternoon, hi, hello. Like when I just flew here today, I was saying hello to people on the airplane. Guy sat beside me is from Bangladesh. Had a great conversation when the guy sat beside me. He's a university student going to school to get a degree in computer science. And so I'm just a network of conversations. So the key thing is curiosity. I'm always curious about people. What makes this human being tick? What is this human being going through in their life?
Crazy.
And I just find it fascinating, and just acknowledging and recognizing and appreciating people. I'm always looking for things to catch people doing things right. And acknowledge them. Hey, just want to let you know, I just saw you interact with your child, and that was just beautiful, the way you looked after your kid. There's a guy today on the airplane where he was up a few rows in front of me. This elderly lady came on the plane, and he went and grabbed her suitcase and put it up in the upper bin. And I went up to him and I said, I want to thank you for doing that. And he goes, oh, no problem. I said, no, that was really great that you did that. And he sat down and he's like, wow. Who's this guy? Right? But always catch people doing things right. And so what I'm looking for is opportunities to find a way to engage in conversations, do it in an authentic way, but just find a way to because people want to talk, people want to engage, people are always looking for some conversation, right? Because everything happens in conversation.
That's right.
So I'm just looking for ways I can find opportunities to serve people and make a difference, and make it about them by listening and asking questions.
Because it's funny how you picked one of the things that makes everyone the most fearful thing to do is public speaking.
Yes. For sure.
And so where did you find the passion to say that, you know what, I want to be able to do corporate training because it's technically public speaking?
Well, and the key thing with corporate training is terrifying as well, because you got public speaking and then you got corporate training. Here I am, a guy traveling the world, training some of the smartest, brightest minds of people in corporate America and corporate Canada, and I never went to college university.
Yeah.
So talk about intimidating, right? I'm dealing with people that are from Harvard, Stanford, Yale University, Wharton School of Finance, very smart people, right? High performance people, best in class people. And I'm coming in with the least amount of experience, being paid the most in the day to come in and corporate train them. You know what I mean? And
which is wild if you ask me, to be honest.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Here I'm going to do and helping them solve their problems and collaborate with them to help solve and troubleshoot things in their companies. And then public speaking was a huge thing for me, realizing that I had a natural gift to really serve people, make a difference, and confronting my fear of public speaking, which was terrifying for me. I used to shake, I used to sweat, all that kind of stuff. And, I always say it never gets easier, you just get stronger. Right?
That's a good way to put it.
Never gets easier. You just get stronger, because every time that you're, especially today, if you get up and you're speaking at a college, university, or speaking someplace, people's attention span is much shorter because they're using their mobile phones, right? So you got to be able to deliver practical information to them in a very concise, short period of time to keep their attention.
So I don't want to forget this point, but the Toastmasters. I really wanted to talk to you about that. What's your take on the Toastmasters? How much
life changing? I spent 11 years at Toastmasters, changed my life. It's a very structured organization. They're global. They're in many countries around the world. They're on virtual today. Since COVID, they went virtual as well. There's in-person meetings and virtual. You can drop into Russia, Japan. You could join a Toastmasters club. Once you're a member, it's a few $100s a year to be a member. You can join a Toastmasters club anywhere in the world because you have global membership. And it's phenomenal. The people you meet, the things you learn about public speaking, communication, leadership is phenomenal. I've seen people rise through Toastmasters that came in of somebody wanting to get a promotion, ended up becoming the CEO of a company. I've seen people come in that actually end up going to become city councilors, mayors of cities.
Wow.
I've seen a guy come in who was a disc jockey many years ago who went on to become a national disc jockey, like a highly rated disc jockey, because he learned everything from Toastmasters.
Do you need a referral?
No, you just go on to toastmastersinternational.org, I think it is, and or just Google Toastmasters, whatever city you're in or town you're in. And again, I think they're in over 100 countries around the world. And just go. The hardest thing is going to a Toastmasters meeting, because you're scared of, oh my gosh, it's public speaking.
Yeah.
But once you go in as a guest, you feel safe because you feel like, oh my gosh, everybody's just like me.
Yeah, right. You're the one that you flip the alarm.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. But I tell you, if you want to advance yourself in terms of taking the fast track to things, go to a Toastmasters meeting. You want to learn about communicate. If you want to be in business, you want to become an entrepreneur or business owner, and you want to, you got to go raise money to start up, as a startup company for investors, go take Toastmasters. You'll learn about how to present to investors. You want to get into more media, television, social media, things like that, go take Toastmasters.
Too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there's all different kinds of manuals that they got that you get to go through and work on in terms of increasing your public speaking and communication and leadership skills. Even how to do a eulogy. Even how to do master of ceremonies at a wedding or a funeral.
Yeah, that's a skill too.
Yeah.
That's definitely a skill. I did it one time and I'm like, man, I cut it in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had the best excuse on earth why I did it short. I said, I don't want to offend nobody.
Yeah.
I had bad jokes, but realistically, I just didn't want to continue.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Where does Tony Jeary come into the mix?
So interesting with Tony Jeary. So Tony Jeary wrote the foreword to my book, Until I Become. I have, as you know, a must-meet list of people I want to meet around the world. And what was interesting with Tony Jeary. So Tony Jeary is not known to the masses of the population. Like most people have never heard of Tony Jeary because Tony's the guy who coaches the top CEOs in the world. So
he's literally just right
he would
there.
coach like Tony Robbins.
Oh, really?
He'd be a coach to Tony Robbins. Yeah, he'd be an advisor to Tony Robbins. He's a coach's coach. Like he coaches the Walton family, the Ford family.
Oh, wow. He's to that degree?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd love to meet
Yeah, so the founders of Walmart, he coaches them. The Ford family, Ford Motor Company. Yeah, he coaches those folks.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. He's a coach's coach.
He's a boss, eh?
Oh, yeah. He's based in Dallas, Texas. He's got a results center. So what happened was I ended up, he was on my must-meet list. I heard about him, and I thought, I don't know how to get access to this guy, right? But all we are is a network of conversations. So I'm with a guy one time in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. I'm driving with this guy one time, and he goes, and all of a sudden this guy, Tony Jeary, comes up on his screen, and he calls him while I'm in the car with him. I go, you gotta be kidding me. You know Tony Jeary? He goes, yeah. He goes, so I'm talking to the guy. And I said, Tony, this is really interesting. I said, you're on my must-meet list. He goes, I'm glad this happened. He goes, I'd love to meet with you. He goes, next time you're in Dallas, let me know. So I'm going to be in Dallas in a few months. So I fly down to Dallas, and I'm at the hotel, and he has this black Mercedes bus picks me up at the hotel. It's like you're a rock star going to pick up this bus. He's got a driver, takes me to the results center, and I'm thinking, wow, this is impressive. And I go in there, and this guy's dialed in on performance and results. Like, you want to get results, like this guy's dialed in at the highest level.
Tony Jeary's the man.
Tony Jeary. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a very practical, very results-oriented guy. And just his team and everything like that. So I go there, and I'm just like, wow, I spent half a day with him. Just blown away. So when I leave that day, I go home, and I'm back in the hotel, and I journal. I said, if I was to ever write a book, I'd want Tony Jeary to write the foreword to my book. And I'm just speculating, just writing down in my journal, not attached to anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a year later, COVID happens. We're in lockdown. And about a year later, I get a email from Tony Jeary's executive assistant. Hey, just want to see if you'd be available. Tony Jeary would like to jump on a call with you and have a conversation with you. So I'm like, okay. So I jump on a call, and Tony says, hey, Darren, I was just doing some reflecting. And he goes, I think it's time. I think it's time for what? And he goes, I think it's time. I think it's time that we unleash the book within you. I think it's time. And just when he said to me, I think it's time, it just, all the cells in my body just resonated with me. And I thought, wow. So I said, you know what, let me talk it over with Tatiana first before I make a final answer, and I'll get back to you. And I got off phone with Tony, and I said, Tony Jeary just called. He wants me to write a book. They want to, his team wants to put it together with you, Tatiana, and with all the publishing, global distribution, all that. And they'll help us. It'll be a 10-month process from start to finish. We'll structure it on Zoom calls every week. We'll have a set meeting agenda, meeting attendees, and we record it and we transcribed. And she goes, yeah, let's do it.
Wow.
And that was the turning point. And I was excited and scared, but I knew to just run into it, right? Run towards the fear. And that was a turning point in my life. And I was like, wow. Because, here I'm a year earlier thinking, wouldn't it be cool if he could write the foreword to my book?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Is he an intense guy? Is that what it is?
He's very calm, very laid back, but intensely focused. And has a unique skill set on understanding how to bring things out of you and how to see opportunities within you, how to take you to the next level. What's your blind spots, where you're stuck, where you're holding back, where you're not playing full out, maybe where you're not delegating, maybe you're not growing, expanding, maybe we're not creating joint venture strategic alliances. He has a very unique skill set on how to ask right questions. I always say the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And Tony Jeary is very keen on asking specific questions.
Yeah. That's the skill set.
Yeah. And he can really, he has a way of just looking at you and just seeing how he can make you even more high performing.
So then aside from that all, if you take that aside and you get down to who really Darren is,
yeah,
the serviceman.
Yeah.
You want to start your own foundation.
Yeah, we started a foundation a couple of years ago called Link Foundation. So it's an international foundation now in the United States of America and Canada. We've committed to put $100 million through the foundation over the next 10 years towards global philanthropy. We do a thing called E2E, which is Elevate to Educate. Hiking has changed my life. I used to be 45 pounds heavier.
You look great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I was a lot heavier 4 or 5 years ago, and I started hiking. I did Kilimanjaro last year, which I never thought it was an impossible goal.
What is that?
What's that?
Did you say Kilimanjaro?
Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania,
okay,
East Africa. So it was an impossible goal. it was a challenge. A buddy of mine challenged me to do it. And I'm like, okay, I don't like to lose. So I took the challenge. Yeah. But it was an impossible goal for me. I didn't think I'd ever going to do it. 19,340 feet in elevation. So I achieved that, and it just changed my life to realize now I'm an athlete. Yeah. I never identified myself as an athlete before, and now I'm actually training right now for Mount Vincent, Antarctica in January 2025.
That's amazing.
I'm one of the very few people to ever go to Antarctica to actually summit the coldest place on Earth, which is Mount Vincent at 16,050 feet. It'll be in summertime in January 2025, and temperatures range between -20 and -40 degrees Celsius.
That's crazy.
And I'll climb that mountain with my partner Manny out of Montreal. And we'll do it as an awareness for mental health awareness and for Link Foundation E2 Elevate to Educate. And we have a website called hikingfundraiser.com. And people go to hikingfundraiser.com, they sign up, they come out hiking, and the money we collect off registration, corporate sponsorship, and E2E merchandise, we collect that money, they get a tax receipt through Link Foundation, and then we build the school. So everybody that hikes that day gets a school built. And so our next schools we're building right now is in the country of Honduras in Central America.
I was going to say, have you guys actually built any schools yet?
Yeah, we built schools over, we started in West Africa. Liberia, West Africa is our first pilot school. We built that. It's up and running. We've helped over 300 kids from preschool to grade 6 for the first time ever in their lives ever to go to school.
Nice.
And we have a roadmap now to build 100 schools around the planet.
That's
over
amazing.
the next 10 years and we do it through hiking. So our motto is take a hike, build a school.
Yeah, I seen that actually.
Yeah.
I did a little bit digging myself. I'm like, I'm going to take a play out of his book. You know?
Yeah, take a hike, build a school. And so the cool thing is it works with people's mental health. But what we want people to build authentic, deep, connected relationships. So when people are trying to build relationships through social media, and they find it superficial or fake, or people embellish exaggerate things, come out hiking, you get a chance to meet some. So we have people, we're doing an event coming up here next month. We have people flying in from all over North America, CEOs, executives, athletes, high net worth, ultra high net worth people from all walks of life, all different age groups that come out and support the cause. What we're doing. What's that?
Where are you doing that?
We're doing it in Vancouver, Canada.
I was going to say.
We're doing it in Mount Seymour Provincial Park in North Vancouver.
When are you doing that?
We're going to be on June 29th, 2024. We're doing it.
That's incredible.
And then, so this is what we're doing right now is we've been doing pilots. So now we're growing. And then we're going to start, as we start to scale in the next little while, we're then going to start building it in different cities around the United States and Canada, then eventually internationally in the next few years as we scale. And so every month, eventually in the next few years, we'll actually have a take a hike, build a school event going on in some city, in some country every month. And every time we do it, we'll be building schools.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's the whole Uganda trip then for?
So I've been to Uganda multiple times. So Uganda was, I started going to Uganda originally to actually train on entrepreneurship.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah. I had a contract with a company or an organization called Watoto. Watoto, which was an African, they have an international choir that tours around the world. And then they also have the Watoto villages. Orphanage villages. Okay. And I had a chance to go in and train a lot of the staff over in Uganda, East Africa. And then I had the experience one day where you probably read in the book where I got a phone call one day and they said, hey, can you be ready tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.? We're going to pick up a Toyota Land Cruiser, a safari vehicle. We're going to take you out into northern Uganda, East Africa. I'm like, well, what do I pack? What do I bring? They go, bring nothing with you. Leave your passport like that at the hotel. And I just like nothing. And so I go on this really rough ride. Like they're not really roads. Yeah. Right? In this Land Cruiser, and it's like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 hours, and we're bouncing around in this Toyota Land Cruiser, this safari vehicle, and I come to this village where there's these mud huts out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like if I was to die, nobody would find me out here. Yeah, literally. You would not find me, and the people come to greet me, and they're all naked. They wore no clothes, and the village leader comes up to me, he goes, sir, he goes, why are you wearing a costume? And at that moment, I wanted to look good and I didn't want to look bad. I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, here I am. I have this identity crisis of my ego of wanting to not take my clothes off and be naked in this village. And I thought, well, if I take my clothes off, where are we going to put them? He goes, just put them right here on the ground. They'll be here in a couple of days when you want to leave. Nobody will touch them.
That's crazy.
And that was a big turning point for me, just to be raw and vulnerable.
And you're like, hell no, anyways.
No, it's so weird to me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because in our culture, we got rules and laws and regulations and just how I was raised and all that stuff. And now all of a sudden I'm out in the middle of, so I thought, you know what, do this. And so I ended up doing it.
Oh, you took off your
took off my clothes.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't.
I ended up doing it, yeah.
Wow.
And then what happened was I ended up eating grasshoppers and crickets.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah, that's what we had to eat, was lots of protein.
How'd you like that?
You know, it was interesting. I was scared. And then the guy said to me, he goes, in your culture, you eat prawns and shrimp. He goes, no different than grasshoppers and crickets. Same kind of body structure and legs.
Did it taste very
the crickets are the crickets are there's actually the grasshoppers have kind of there's an acidy taste with them, and the crickets are very crunchy.
I won't lie to you. It just sounds disgusting.
These are live.
These are live.
They're live crickets and grasshoppers. Then what the ladies do in the village, they go and they get the flowers.
Yeah.
And they take their hands and like this, and they create this flour, and it's like salted popcorn.
Interesting.
And then they put the flower petals onto the grasshoppers and crickets, and it gives it flavor like it's buttered popcorn.
Does it taste like buttered popcorn?
No, it changes the flavors of the grasshoppers and crickets. And then the one day I was there, actually I was just in Africa last year. I was in Tanzania, East Africa last year. I went to Mount Kilimanjaro. I went to meet the Messiah warriors, and I also went and toured a couple of different villages.
Jeez.
And the one day I was there, the people took me for a walk out in the village, and they found a termite hill. This big termite hill in the middle of the bush. And they were eating the termites live. And I wouldn't do that, but they're eating live termites.
Is that where you draw the line?
Oh,
yeah,
I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that.
That's crazy.
No.
How much did you appreciate a good steak after you came?
Oh, yeah. You just realize that how blessed we are to live in a first world country and what we go through here.
What a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Honestly, to see what they go through, and we're so immersed in technology and everything has to be, it's how many times you go to a restaurant, you'll just watch a couple and you're like, is this the first date, second date? They've been there together forever, and they're just on their phones.
Absolutely.
And they'll just sit there and they'll show each other videos and stuff like that. Where's the interaction anymore?
Yeah. Well, when I was in Tanzania last year, I went on a 2-day safari with my driver, Cornell, and just him and I, and we're out there, and I saw the five big animals of the safari. On day 2, he said to me, is there anything else you'd want to see? I said, one of my dreams, part of my 7,000 goals, is I've always wanted to meet the Messiah warriors. Not the commercialized ones that you see on the side of the road, the ones out in the bush that have no running water, no electricity, that have the knife, that live out in the wilderness, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm friends with the Messiah warrior leader for Tanzania. And I said, what would it take for us to go see them? He goes, well, it'd take about 4 or 5 hours for us to drive there out in the middle of the bush. It's not an easy ride. It's bumpy. And he goes, well, we can do that next time you come. I said, why don't we do it now? And he goes, well, we're on safari. I said, listen, I've already seen the 5 big animals. Yeah. Let's go do that. So he's okay, I'll take you there, but on one condition. I'll take you there, but they may not want to meet you. I said, why is that? And he goes, well, because they live off the land and they live out in the bush. Yeah. And if you have any kind of cold or flu or virus and you impact them, you can wipe out their population. So they're going to meet you. He'll come meet you. And if he feels comfortable meeting you, then he'll invite you into the village. But if not, he'll just say, not going to see you. And he said, I don't want to disappoint you. So that's fine. Even if we go out and do it, it's an experience of a lifetime. So we drive out there, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm out in the middle of nowhere here in Tanzania, East Africa. And I thought, wow, if something ever happened to me, nobody ever find me. So I get out there, I wait in the vehicle. My driver goes out and talks to them. So then he says, okay, he wants to meet with you. So the Messiah warrior leader comes out and meets with me. And I've got pictures on my social media of me meeting with him. So he speaks 3 languages. He speaks Messiah, Swahili, and a little bit of English. And he's got multiple wives, lots of children, and he looks after all the Messiah for the Messiah warriors in Tanzania.
Well, he's living life.
Oh yeah, incredible. So I go out there and they do this Messiah warrior dance for me and the celebration thing for me, and it was quite fascinating, right? And then the thing I don't do is they cut the goat, and then they drink the blood from the goat. I wouldn't do that. It was too freaky for me. But
so termites and the goat blood, no way.
Mm-hmm. So what he did was he shows me, the Messiah warrior leader, that he has a cell phone. He's the only Messiah warrior leader in Tanzania that actually has a cell phone that the government of Tanzania gave him because they have to stay in contact with him.
Really?
And then he has a cell phone charger that's solar powered. So he hands me a cell phone. It's not a new phone like we have here in North America. It's an older phone. And I thought, well, how the heck are you going to get cell phone range out here in the middle of nowhere? Yeah. But he has to go, they climb up a tree and they get cell phone coverage. And so anyways, I look on his phone and he's got WhatsApp. So I show him on my phone, I've got WhatsApp. Yeah. And I said, do you mind, can we connect? He's like, yeah. What? So I connect with him. So we have frequent calls a few times a week now when he's in cell phone range. Yep, still to this day. So it gets better, and I can show you on my phone.
I'd love to.
So in December of last year, I thought, okay, over Christmas holidays, I'm going to learn how to use ChatGTP for business so I can work with legal contracts and agreements and proposals and stuff. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to give ChatGTP, artificial intelligence, a scenario. I've got a guy who speaks 3 languages, very little education, who's a Messiah warrior, lives out in the middle of the bush in Tanzania, East Africa, how he would walk into the government office building in Moshi, Tanzania, speak to a government official, and we'd apply for a passport, a Tanzanian passport with no address. So I played with ChatGTP over probably a week on this, all different kinds of scenarios, give it all different kinds of scenarios. And then I cut and pasted it and I put it into WhatsApp. And I had the Messiah warrior leader go into the capital of Tanzania, and we got him a 10-year passport.
And it worked?
Yes. And I can show you, I got pictures of him with a 10-year passport.
ChatGPT is that good?
Yeah.
I got him a friggin' passport?
So what my next big goal is, one of my big goals, with E2E, Elevate to Educate, and Link Foundation. And I'm open to anybody, if any guys' suggestions. I want to connect with National Geographic or somebody who's like in National Geographic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fly over to Tanzania. I'm going to bring him over to Canada or the United States. And I want him to be a guest speaker, the Messiah War. I want him to be a guest speaker at Take a Hike and Build a School.
You think he'd do it?
Yeah, he is. He's agreed to it.
What?
Yeah. We've agreed to it. What I'm working out right now, I would have done it this year, but the thing is that, see, he's never been to a hospital. He's never had any medical evaluations.
Yeah.
So I'm all about risk management. So with myself is that when I bring him over, it's going to be such a cultural shock. He's never been out of the village. He's never been on an airplane. He's never seen a public toilet. He's never been in a restaurant.
That's crazy.
Can you
Does he wear
that?
clothes, by the way?
Yeah, they wear the Messiah clothes.
Okay. So
yeah, they jump
clothes.
up and down.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a knife. Okay. They always carry a knife and a stick. And so I want to bring him over to Canada, but what I want to do is I want to have a coordinated plan just in case scenario planning, worst case scenario for risk management, that if something should happen where he has a reaction to the food or culture or something like that, he's sensitive towards something, if he was to ever have to go to the hospital, how would we treat him? So I have to have some planning time with that. That's why I didn't bring him over for this year for our event.
Yeah.
But for next year, I want to bring him over. And I want to have it documented. I want to have like National Geographic fly over with me. We pick him up in the village and we bring him through in the Toyota Land Cruiser, bring him into the city.
Yeah.
And him going on an airplane for the first time ever in his life and walking on and seeing an airplane that's going to leave the ground and go up, 30,000 feet in the air.
I feel bad for him. He's going to be terrified. Eh?
Yeah. Can you imagine? And what an inspiration to all of his people in his village. Right?
That's incredible.
And it's so funny because I just talked to him the other day. He's like, I still don't understand what this book is. He calls it a book. It's his passport.
Yeah.
He's a book. He looks like it's a book, right? He doesn't understand why he has this book. Like, because in his world, everybody knows him by his name.
What is his name?
So he goes by. So I'm trying to think of how you say. So I call him Joel. Jouil. Joel. Okay. Is how I pronounce it.
But it's very hard on the tongue. Is that what it is?
Yeah. But they pronounce it differently with the. With the Messiah, using Messiah or with Swahili, yeah.
Right, I'd love to hear what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Does he send you voice notes?
Yeah, I got it on my phone.
I definitely want to hear.
I'll show it to you later. I'll show you all the messages back and forth.
That's incredible.
In fact, we can even call him and see if he'll answer.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible. And you guys actually still chat till this day?
We chat. Just talked 2 days ago with him. Talk about 2 or 3 times a week.
Man, you're incredible at building relationships. Yeah, man. And that's literally all because of curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Just curiosity and just building the rapport with him. For him to get to know me, like me, and trust me. And then just building that relationship with him. And then having him leave the village and walk for many miles into this capital city to go into a government building and to apply for a passport. And not quite understanding the whole process of, well, why am I doing this? This doesn't make any sense. Because he has no references to this. And I just built the rapport with him to actually go in and do that.
I believe in you. I know for a fact National Geographic is going to get.
I think it'd be cool, yeah. So if anybody has any context, I'd be totally open to that, having a conversation, because I've got the connections. I can get us right to the village, and Cornell, my driver, I still keep in touch with my safari driver.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I've been referring him business. I've got him some contracts with private safari tours, and a company out of the United States, a buddy of mine just opened up a safari company, so they're now contracting him to do the safari tours.
That's incredible.
It's all about building relationships, yeah.
So what's the next steps for you? What's the next on the bucket list for you? Or sorry, the live list.
Yeah, the live list. I love doing big deals all the time. Like I'm very good at putting together deals. I've got a very large network.
Yeah.
And so I love putting together deals, like whether they're real estate deals or mergers and acquisitions. I have a a partnership with a company called Smashing Numbers, where we're buying bookkeeping and accounting firms right now. We're rolling up into a $50 million company.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. And then we'll either exit or we'll keep it for the cash flow. So that's good. We've been buying bookkeeping and accounting firms across North America. I own a lot of real estate across the U.S. and Canada. Titi and I have a lot of real estate, single-family homes, and now we're buying commercial buildings as well. So we got that.
I was going to ask, what is it with EXP? I know it's a real estate brokerage. There's a few agents here that I know, but what do you do with EXP?
Yeah, so I joined EXP in 2013. Came on as the first independent board of directors member when it was a startup company. We had no money building airplanes or flying it. And came on and served as a public director from 2013 up until last year for 10 years. I served as a board of directors member, then stepped down. Being on the board is phenomenal, but there's a lot of limitations and rules and regulations. And so I served 10 years on the board of directors of EXP and helped take it from a startup company with just a couple hundred real estate agents to 86,000 agents in 24 countries on 5 continents and publicly traded on NASDAQ.
I think it's a genius brokerage, to be honest.
It's no bricks and mortar.
It's such a genius model.
Yeah.
I love that whole realtor. I remember when they were doing the whole pitch in the first place. Obviously, I'm not a real estate agent.
Yeah. So I still serve on the board of directors of EXP Canada. And, but yeah, so served 10 years, and what an incredible ride from startup to nobody believing in us, to doubting us, to hating us, to then building the fastest growing residential real estate company in the world. And so served 10 great years on that board for EXP World Holdings, and got a chance to go to NASDAQ 3 times, ring the closing bell. I've also been to Cboe Exchange for another company, an artificial intelligence company, helped take it public, first artificial intelligence company take it public earlier this year. So I serve on multiple different paid boards of directors of public and private companies now, and I love it.
You got a wicked story.
Yeah. So the guy who barely passed public high school to being homeless on the streets on welfare to R9 credit rating to where I am today. Yeah.
That's it. How was it working with, I think his name was Jason?
So Jason Gessing was our CEO. Yeah, Jason Gessing, one of the original 3. And then Glenn Sanford's the founder. Still keep in touch with Glenn to this day. Glenn's incredible. I remember Glenn when he started, had no money, and today he's a billionaire. And seeing that journey over the last 10 years, and still the same guy. No, he's just a humble guy, integral guy, just really loves people, loves working with the agents, and he's a visionary. He's a dreamer. And he's not driven by money. He's driven to solve problems and serve humanity and make a difference. And he's been a realtor for many years. He just didn't like how realtors were being treated. He didn't like that the real estate companies, the brokers were, the way they were making money compared to the agents doing all the work, making all the sales calls, doing all the rejection. And he just wanted to create a retirement plan for the agents. And he wanted to do what was right for the agents and make a difference in the agents' lives. And so he wanted to solve a problem. And
that was his key to success.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having the agents back and really being of service to the agents, saying, look, I want to stand for the agents and make a difference in the agents' lives.
No wonder your first chapter service. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw Glenn go through incredible amounts of changes. In the early days when nobody believed in us, laughed at us, made fun of us. We're going nowhere fast. We're going to be out of business in 30 days. I used to get text messages all the time. Hey, Darren, I belong to BNI or Women in Business or Chamber of Commerce or Rotary. I know a few realtors in my organization. Nobody's ever heard of EXP Realty. Darren, there's 11 homes right now for sale in my subdivision or my community or my neighborhood. Not one of them's an EXP sign. When are you gonna give this up? Yeah. This is going nowhere fast.
And look what you guys are today.
Yeah. And
that's incredible.
Now I go everywhere and I see EXP real estate signs. Even when I was going to the airport today to Vancouver Airport, I saw 2 EXP signs on the way to the Vancouver Airport.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where are you guys located? Is it just North America?
No, we're in 24 countries now on 5 continents.
What?
We have no physical bricks and mortar. Well, I shouldn't say that. We're just office center.
Yeah, I found, first of all, the whole online EXP world thing, I found that very...
Yeah, the Verbella, it's phenomenal. Yeah. And we're very lean as an organization, 24 countries, 5 continents, 86,000 agents. And we've created a lot of success stories of a lot of people.
Listen, I'm going to be selfish right now, guys. Listen, I'm going to let Darren say his last piece because I'm going to steal his time personal now. What do you want to leave these guys with? What do you want to... I know you have your whole philanthropy. You want to leave them with a message saying that, you want to help change the next generation.
Yeah.
What's your advice to these young people?
Well, I always have 2 questions. I always like to give people like a kind of an exercise. Number one is, all we are is a network of conversations, and opportunities live inside of conversations. So one of the things that really changed my life, and I talk about this in Until I Become, is the power of making requests. And it could be a request, it could be an unreasonable request, an outrageous request, a powerful request, right? So the key thing is, question number one is, where am I not requesting in my life? So take a look at your life and ask yourself, where am I not making requests in my life? It could be around your business, your finances, your health, your relationship. It could be around going on date nights with your kids. You know, like you want to get out of the house, you need somebody to look after your kids. But take a look at number one is, where am I not making requests in my life? And number two is, who do I become as a human being when I'm not making requests? So when you look at your life, that you're coming from, you're not expanding, you're contracting. You come from lack and scarcity versus abundance and prosperity. If you just start making requests, you'll be amazed at what will happen for you in your life. Because there's people out there willing to say yes, but you're not giving them an invitation to make a request to them. Because when you make a request, people either will accept your request, they'll decline your request, or they'll counteroffer your request. But make the request. So I'm constantly, everywhere I go now, I'm just like, hey, love to have you come out hiking with us. Well, I'm not a hiker. Well, come out as a networker. Yeah. Come out and just go for a walk. Why? Because proximity is power. You're going to meet some great people. Like last year when we did our take a hike, build a school, we did a pilot. We had 6 people came out. I introduced them to one lady who runs an international publishing company. And all those 6 people now are international best-selling authors. They came to go for a hike to support mental health and to support Link Foundation, never showed up on that hike trail that day thinking they're becoming international best-selling authors. And all 6 of them were just last week in Las Vegas speaking at a conference.
That's amazing.
Right? Life's totally changed. So I love, that's what gives me joy and enrichment and fulfillment, is seeing people's lives enriched and seeing people's lives transformed.
Can I tell you something? My take from your book, I got to say, the whole abundance mindset.
Yes.
When that shifted for you, I'm like, man, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of the tenacity as well. If the tenacity with no plan, you have no clear direction is nothing. So even that I was thinking about, I'm like, you know what? You can just keep working and you always have that same move. You have motion with no movement.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, it sounds like a lot of the day-to-day stuff that you go through. There's a lot of takeaways I took from the book, the whole giving.
Yes.
Because I'm a very big giver. That's why I had to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you draw the line? Because it's so hard. All you want to do is be able to, you hear something and you're like, you know what? I can help you.
Sure. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So then I had to ask that.
And that's what comes from the team. That's why I always have a team of people around me, and we talk about it through the team, and we collaborate, and the team comes up with the answer.
I think your book is phenomenal. I recommend anybody to read it. Brings a nice perspective. Even if you can know this stuff and you already know some of it, it's very nice to see the way you've put it together. It's very, very easy to understand. You know what I mean? So, and another thing, you know how you said, just kind of take the compliment and roll with it. Stop over explaining. Yeah. We all do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like when you're reading the book, you're like, man, this guy's a human being.
Yeah. And then that's why I always shared the backstory, the come up story, and the success story in life. Because people, when they look at the backstory, they think, oh my gosh, what you overcome, the adversities, the failures, the challenges, the setbacks, right? But that's the thing is it's the perseverance, is that hunger, that drive. In the early part of my life, I was never good enough. So that was a driving force for myself. Right. And I think the thing is in life is that when you have adversity, like I realized in my life, like 4 years ago when I was fat and overweight, and I remember that day when I said to myself, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. I confronted myself and I got disgusted with myself. That was a turning point. And so I think a lot of times when it comes to finances or health or relationships or your job or your career, people don't get disgusted. And when you get disgusted, things change. You got to get frustrated with yourself. Like, I don't want to live my life this way anymore. Yeah. When I was 38 years old, and I realized, oh my gosh, I am so sick and tired of living panic to panic. And I got so upset with myself. That was a turning point when I said, I'm gonna get my money right, because my money was not right. Yeah. And I dedicated my 40s to get my money right. And I got my money right.
Oh, you did that in your 40s?
Yes, yeah. So 38 to 50, but really in the early 40s was. I'll tell you a funny quick story. I was 43 years old, made my first $1 million, and I was worth $1.3 million, and I had a mentor of mine from San Francisco who worked in the movie. He had multiple companies, and he did work with the movie industry in Vancouver. Yeah. And he flies up and he says, "Hey, we're gonna go for sushi." And he goes, "I said, I just want you to know." He challenged me to become a millionaire. And he said, "When you become a millionaire, we're gonna go out for sushi and we're gonna celebrate in Vancouver." So I call him up. I say, "Guess what? I'm now a millionaire." And he goes, "Good." He goes, "I want you to call up your account and I want you to get a verified, certified personal financial net worth statement." I said, "Well, come on, it's going to cost like $500 to do that." He goes, "I want to get it done." So, okay. So I called my accountant. He's like, "Okay, it's $500. Sure enough, paid the $500. Wasn't happy about it, but I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I go meet with him for dinner. We're downtown Vancouver at this sushi restaurant. I walk in and he's a real numbers guy. So I show him my personal financial net worth statement. It says $1.3 million. And he looks at it and he says, "Congratulations." And this sushi restaurant's packed with people. Okay. Yeah. So he says to me, he said, Darren, he says, do you have a debit card? I said, yeah. He goes, take your debit card out of your pocket. He goes, do you have a credit card? Yeah. I said, put your debit cards and your credit cards on the table. I was okay. Why? He goes, just do it. So I put my debit cards and my credit cards on the table at the sushi restaurant. And he goes, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. He goes, can you go to the ATM machine over there right now? And can you pull $2,000 in cash? Yes or no? I said, no. He goes, can you take out $1,000 in cash? Yes or no? I said, no. He goes, can you take out $500 in cash? Yes or no? I said, no. He goes, how much money can you take out in liquid cash out of the ATM machine right now? I said, oh, probably maybe $200, $220 with overdraft. He looks at me. He goes, really? So guess what he does? He stands up in this sushi restaurant. Place is packed.
Yeah.
He goes, ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please?
Holy shit.
I want to acknowledge my friend here who's now officially a millionaire, but he's flat broke. He's flat broke. And then he rips up my personal financial net worth statement in front of everybody. And he goes, the guy's flat broke. He's worth $1.3 million on paper, but he can't even pay for our sushi for dinner.
Holy shit.
And he embarrassed me.
I was going to say, how did you feel on that?
Oh, I want to kick him and punch him. He sits back down and he says, Darren, always remember this. You cannot eat your financial net worth. You can only eat cash flow.
That's crazy.
And that was a defining moment in my life that I was worth $1.3 million on paper, but I wasn't liquid with cash flow.
That's crazy.
And I saw a lot of people who were financially net worth on paper, a certain amount of money, but they didn't have cash flow. Multiple revenue streams, monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful. He embarrassed me, but the pain of that, the discomfort, changed my life.
And that's the whole being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Because I was pretty cocky and pretty proud that I was worth $1.3 million in my personal financial net worth statement. And he wanted to humble me saying, look, you know what? You can't even go to the ATM machine and get me $300.
And he humbled the shit out of you there and then.
And he likes to eat a lot of sushi. Yeah.
So then what's your biggest so when it comes down to, because obviously you do a lot of real estate then. So a lot of the network is real estate. And you always hear about don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Where do you put your stuff?
So so real estate, single family homes. We got homes all across North America, portfolio of that. And then we buy cash flow producing businesses. And then dividend investments as well, things that pay quarterly dividends. And then I'm invested in artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, real estate, car washes.
Car washes.
Yeah, car washes in certain states. Arizona is a good place in the United States because you want to be where it's sunny, and people drive a lot of Mercedes and BMWs and black cars based on that zip code.
Makes sense.
And you want to have it where they have a monthly subscription fee where they're paying $14.95 a month every month, whether they use that vehicle or not on that license plate, because you want the monthly recurring revenue.
100%.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I always look for, I look at boring businesses. Like if you look at my portfolio, a lot of boring stuff, medical office buildings. Tatiana invested in medical office buildings. Yeah. Stable, predictable, consistent. Accounting, bookkeeping firms were invested in, real estate, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity.
Are you well versed in these businesses that you're buying, or is it just something like?
No, we understand them very well.
You understand them very well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, very deep level. Yeah, we educate. Tatiana and I educate ourselves before we do the investment because it's all about risk mitigation, and asset protection.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Is when you said you dedicate time for wealth building.
Yeah.
How does that look like?
So the key thing is number one is getting around other like-minded people. So a lot of times it's hiking. I'll go hiking with very wealthy people. And when you're out there, you get into these deep conversations. The key thing is creating like generational wealth planning. Yeah. Systems, strategies, structures, processes is very important. How to have conversations with family. Because so one of the things with myself is Tati and I are doing very well in our lives. And we have this audacious goal to give away $100 million towards global philanthropy. But yet I have a brother and a sister that I don't help out. So I'm confronted with that because, I'm doing my life. So now I thought, okay, so I went to a bunch of my friends recently, very wealthy friends. I'm like, okay, so what do I do with my immediate family? Right? We're serving the world. We're building schools around the world. We're doing all this stuff through Link Foundation. What do I do with my family? So what we're doing right now is Tati and I are looking into, we're buying real estate assets. We're going to buy some real estate assets. Yeah. And then we'll hold title on it. But the cash flow will go to my family. So it's to supplement their income. Yeah. We're going to help supplement my family's income. So they don't have to struggle or they have to stress. Because I have a lot of freedom in my life, so we're going to create more freedom in their lives to let them do whatever they want. Because my biggest thing with my family is I don't want them to just go ahead and get the money and then blow it. Yeah. Because what I do is I buy every dollar that I get To me, it's like a baby yellow chick, a little fuzzy yellow chick. Yeah. And my job is to raise that little fuzzy yellow chick, grow it up, and then multiply it. So I'm very good at, because of probably childhood trauma, I'm very good at multiplying money. You give me $1, I'll turn it into $100.
Wow.
Right? I'm just good at that. It just comes to me.
You're better than Grant Cardone. You do 100x. He only does 10x.
Yeah. And I'm just good at that kind of stuff. And where did I learn it from? I think it was just childhood trauma. I think it was just out of survival. I learned it. Eating eat my next meal of a garbage dumpster. And I learned how to be resourceful, going to 7-Eleven, and getting a super big gulp and a hot dog for $1.69 when I was flat broke financially. And having that adversity and that failure and that pain, right, I was dealing with.
Is it like you're just setting an hour aside a day? Is that what you do?
Yes, every day. Yeah, so I schedule time in my calendar. I live by my calendar. If things are not structured in your calendar, it does not exist in your life. There's no evidence it exists in your life. Everything you want to do in your life, if you don't put it into your calendar, it's not going to happen.
Because I'm terrible with that.
Yeah, and then every night at 7:30 p.m., I have a recurring alarm goes off on my iPhone, and I have a calendar invitation, and I have a calendar review. And then I reset, and I have alarms for everything. So my calendar, and then I have alarms. So if I have to be someplace, my alarm will go. So I have to be on a Zoom call, for example. And let's for example, I have it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My alarm will go off at either 2:57 p.m. or 2:58 p.m. as transition time. So I'm always early and always on time. Jeez. And so I'm always my word. So I'm very, very predictable, very consistent. And you'd be amazed at when if you want to raise money, how people will start to want to give you money all the time because they see you consistent, because you're your word.
That's amazing. And
because people say, "My gosh, Darren, you can raise a lot of money." Yeah, because I focus on being my word and being in integrity all the time.
Yeah,
and then also too over communicate. So what Tit and I always do is I'll give you an example with our foundation. We have some people who contribute private money to the foundation because they love how organized we are and they love what we do, and we say we're going to do what we're going to do, and we make things happen and we get things done. And sometimes what we were doing is we would communicate like every month to these investors, and they'd constantly say, "Hey, Darren, listen, like, can you dial this back? Like, this is too much communication." We're like, "Okay, what works for you? Monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or yearly?" Just semi-annually, every 6 months or once a year. Okay, great. But here's the thing: is now we're managing the expectation, because now we know what their expectation is. Because a lot of times people will contribute to a foundation or a charity, and then you never hear from them again until they want more money.
That's right.
Right? So we over communicate what we're doing, so we involve you in what we're doing, whether you're active or you're passive. And people love that. So I always say, if you're raising money, always over communicate with your investors. Always over communicate. Like if you notice when you and I were communicating about me coming here, how you said, just let me know when you land. I said, I'll communicate when I leave Vancouver, when I land in Vancouver, and when I'm en route. You notice that?
And you did.
Over communication.
That's right. And he did. I have to ask you, because I was actually asked, because we're talking, when I was reading the book, and I was talking to a couple of my friends at the time being, and I was talking about the whole wealth building exercises. And they really wanted to know, because you hear a lot of the cookie cutter answers.
Yeah.
They're like, can you give some examples of what you would look for? Maybe it would give them an idea on how to maneuver or look for different things that can build wealth, other than just the regular real estate,
Yeah. So you want to go to like charity events, like children's hospital events, charity events, come around with it. Like I have a lot of wealthy people hang out with me. So if you come to some of our events, like with Link Foundation or Elevate to Educate, you'll get a chance to be around the people. Yeah. And the cool thing is when we're on a hiking, we're doing the hiking fundraiser, is that they're not distracted. They're they're just chilled out in nature.
Yeah.
So you get them at they're just chilled hanging out with you. Like there's no urgency, they're not going anywhere, nothing, right? The thing is you want to look at is that you want to look at a lot of wealthy people invest in boring things is a big thing, but you want to follow what people do. They're solving a problem. Money comes in all different shades of green. So I always want to pick green, shades of green, right? Shades of green, the money that comes in with integrity. Right, because I'm not interested in getting into arms dealers or drugs or any of that kind of stuff. Human trafficking, like money comes in all different shades of green. I'm all about integrity, money, because money's energy, right? So what I do is I just find people who are doing really, really, really well, and then spend time with them, asking them how they got there. And you'd be amazed. I could tell you countless stories of how people build wealth, and it'd blow your mind what people do.
I'd love to hear all of it.
Yeah. It's fascinating how people, and money's not hard to build. All you got to do is serve, supply and demand, solving a problem, serving a need, and making a difference. But it's not hard. Like once you start to see it and then you do it, it's fascinating what you can do in life.
Is the hiking? So clearly hiking is a very big passion of yours. No?
I do it almost every day.
Yeah. So is there an open invitation for these things?
Absolutely. Yeah. You just go to hikingfundraiser.com. hikingfundraiser.com, and all the information is right on the website. It's a great website, and check it out. We're going to be doing different hikes all over the place, and you'll meet some great people.
Shawnee boy, put the link out there. I would love to be able to push that out there for you. Absolutely. Anybody that wants to buy the book, definitely a great read.
Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah.
It's definitely a pleasure, and I'm going to steal your time if you don't mind right after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Darren, it was such a pleasure. You guys already know where to find us. The Link Foundation too, is there anything that they can do with that, or is it just...
Yeah, people can make a financial contribution. You get a tax free if you're in the U.S. or Canada. People just want to make a donation. Money goes towards building the schools. We're committed to building 100 schools around the world for some of the most impoverished children, bringing clean drinking water, access to education, food security, and making a difference in the next generation of kids to help steward and take care of our planet.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave the descriptions and the links in the bio. Please check it out. We want to be able to support the cause.
Sure. Absolutely.
And if they want to reach out to you, can they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And if you want to spend time, they come out hiking with me. That's how
there
people get access to
I'm going to start doing that too.
Yeah.
Darren, man, it was such a pleasure having you here.
Oh, I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. So now I'm going to steal his time. So we'll see you guys later. You like what you see? Like, share, and subscribe. And that's it.
That's great.